I was reading some articles about family estrangement recently, and I came across an article out of The Hill entitled "1/4 of Adult Children Estranged from a Parent." That's dated 7/19/23 by an author named Daniel Devise. I wanted to share some of the quotes from this article to you, or with you. Quote, "In an odd role reversal, the adult child might ask an estranged parent to enter therapy." Unquote. Quote, "Mother and child often fell out after long simmering feuds over values, conflicting religious beliefs, or questionable life choices. Children are more likely than parents to sever family ties. Estrangement often leaves parents reeling. They may feel the adult child is rewriting family history, spinning mundane squabbles into episodes of emotional abuse, recasting timeouts as trauma." And psychologist Dr. Joshua Coleman said, "What I hear from Boomer and Gen X parents all the time is, 'I would never have cut off my parents, and my parents were abusive. And now we're being cut off for things that are hard even to fathom.'" So I wanted to share some verses in the Bible that talk about how children should treat their parents, because this isn't a salvation issue, but in a lot of ways it determines where we're going to go when we die, right? The Lord is going to judge us based on how well we know His Word. So I wanted to start with Proverbs 1:8-9. "My son, hear the instruction of thy father, and forsake not the law of thy mother. For they shall be an ornament of grace unto thy head, and chains about thy neck." Proverbs 6:12 says, "A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth." And what's the definition of a froward person? It's an adjective that describes a disobedient, stubbornly contrary, obstinate, unmanageable, and difficult to deal with person who has a perverse and evil disposition. Proverbs 15:20 says, "A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish man despiseth his mother." Proverbs 17:25 says, "A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bare him." Proverbs 19:26 says, "He that wasteth his father, and chaseth away his mother, is a son that causeth shame, and bringeth reproach. And reproach is an expression of disapproval, a cause of blame, or a loss of honor. To express disappointment in a person for conduct that is blameworthy or in need of amendment." Proverbs 20:20, "Whoso curseth his father or his mother, his lamp shall be put out in obscure darkness." Proverbs 28:24, excuse me, "Whoso robbeth his father or his mother, and saith, It is no transgression, the same is the companion of a destroyer." Proverbs 30:17, "The eye that mocketh at his father, and despiseth to obey his mother, the ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it." Proverbs 16:18, "Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall." Proverbs 23:22, "Hearken unto thy father that begat thee, and despise not thy mother when she is old." Proverbs 30:11-14 is, "There is a generation that curseth their father, and doth not bless their mother. There is a generation that are pure in their own eyes, and yet is not washed from their filthiness. There is a generation, oh, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are lifted up. There is a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth, and the needy from among men. So there's a lot of reasons why kids would estrange themselves from their parents. And I'm not, this video is not referring to those who have been severely abused. This doesn't apply to you, as it's perfectly warranted and acceptable for you to break off contact with that level of abuse. I'm talking more for those that break off contact with their families for things that are of little consequence, and so everyone in the family suffers because people can't come to an agreement. They can't forgive. They can't let things be forgotten. So anyway, Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children." So it's very important to, love like Jesus loves. He would not want us to be, estranging ourselves from family members over very minute things, just because we don't share the same political or religious beliefs, or, because we might have more wisdom than our children do. But unfortunately, I think our kids today feel like they have a level of knowledge that their parents don't have, because they've grown up on the internet and they have technology and AI, and that just makes them automatically smarter than their parents. And this couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is, a computer has never been out of work and still managed to pay their bills. A computer has never suffered loss through death or breakups or finances. These are experiences that only a human can go through, which ultimately leads us to developing a stronger relationship with God. In Luke 15, verses 11 through 32, the prodigal son is talked about, and I'd like to read that story to you. So verse 11 is, "And he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after the younger son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husks that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, "Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found." And they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants, and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, "Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound." And he was angry, and would not go in. Therefore came his father out, and entreated him. And he answering said to his father, "Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf." And he said unto him, "Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad. For this thy brother was dead, and he is alive again, and was lost, and is found." So I just want to encourage anyone that's estranged from their family to choose to make the choice to go back to your estranged parent. They love you. They miss you. They will have compassion on you, and they just want to be a family again. Okay? And I thought it was interesting that in that article in The Hill that I was reading earlier, there was a sociologist from Cornell University named Dr. Pillemer, and he said that he studied families who reconciled after long estrangements. And he said in that article, even after 10 or 20 years, virtually everyone who reconciled after a long estrangement was very glad they did, and almost all of them found it was a very powerful engine for growth. Even if the resulting relationship wasn't perfect, they were still glad they'd done it.